A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say. A win is a win.
Take a step back and you look at the severity of the situation.
Yeah.
Is it that deep?
Beautiful, brilliant, unstoppable. Elizabeth Tammy Odunsi was the kind of 23-year-old who made success look easy. She wasn't just climbing the stairs to the top. She was taking the elevator, the escalator, and building her own ladder while she was at it. Nursing school, almost done. Multiple social media platforms, thriving. By April 2025, she had her cap, her gown, her last classes nearly finished, and her family ready to watch her cross that stage. But instead of a diploma, her story ended with an argument, thanks to Chester Grant, her 40-year-old cat-loving freak of a roommate she'd only known for 2 months. And just like that, the tassel never turned. Welcome to the American Crime Femicide channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future uploads. Tammy was born into resilience. Her parents, John and Adnik Odunsi, had clawed their way through life's hardships in Nigeria before relocating to the United Kingdom to raise their children in safety and opportunity. They were the kind of parents who knew the grind intimately, long hours, sacrifices, the kind of quiet perseverance that doesn't win awards but builds legacies. They instilled in their children a mix of hard work, fearlessness, and the unshakable belief that no dream was too bold to chase. At 17, Tammy made a choice most grown adults would struggle to make. She left London and moved alone to Houston, Texas. Why? Because she wanted to become a nurse, and she wasn't about to let geography or fear stop her. Thanks to her dual citizenship, the move was more paperwork than red tape, but the emotional leap was massive. She arrived just months before the pandemic shut the world down, navigating not only a new country, but a new education system and culture.
Alright, so I was going to make this video later on in the week, but I decided not to keep you guys waiting. So yeah, I'm more than happy to give like tips on how I got to America, but I do have like a quick disclaimer. So I was actually born in America, not for any reason specific. My mum was just on holiday in America when she was pregnant for me, and my auntie suggested that she stays and gives birth to me here so that I can have dual citizenship. So I'm British, but I was actually born in America. I didn't live in America when I was born for long. I was probably there for like a month, and then my mom took me back to England. So yeah, so that means I do have a US passport and citizenship. So yeah, the transition was like a lot smoother for me because, you know, I already had the passport and all that stuff. I do, however, have like 2 other girls that I know that are in America right now, and they're from London, and they weren't born in America, so it's possible obviously to move to America without a passport, with like a visa, and I'm gonna like ask them about it so I can share on here. But yeah, I live with like my auntie and stuff, so the transition was like okay. It's a big like culture shock. There's like a lot of things that I had to adjust to, new things I had to learn and all that, but the transition was kind of smooth. Like it wasn't like rough or anything. I am gonna like start posting more about America, showing you guys how life is for me here as a Londoner in America and all that stuff. Also, if you guys have like any like personal questions that you want to ask me, feel free to DM me on Insta because I always answer my DMs. So yeah, I am going to do more videos explaining how things went for me when I moved to America. I've been here for 3 years now, so you know, I'm pretty like used to everything, but I am more than happy to share my whole experience.
Tammy didn't just adapt, she thrived. Texas Women's University became her second home. Her nursing major wasn't just a career choice, it was personal. Her mother's battle with a cardiac condition had ignited her passion for cardiovascular nursing. Tammy wanted to be more than a nurse. She wanted to be an advocate, a lifeline, especially for Black women facing the maternal mortality crisis in America. It wasn't just about a paycheck, it was purpose. But she wasn't all work and no joy. Tammy built an online presence that showed the world who she was, a vibrant, smart, funny young woman navigating the differences between London and America, sharing her nursing school journey, and letting her followers see her hustle up close. By August 2023, she had finished her general classes and stepped fully into nursing school. By 2024, her audience had grown to over 30,000 followers, many of them cheering her on as she studied late nights, juggled her workload, and cared for her beloved cat.
Hey guys, it's your favorite Brit in America, and this is a get ready with me for my first day of nursing school. So most of you know that I'm from London, but I moved to America about 4 years ago, just before A-levels. So yeah, I took a shower, got dressed. Today wasn't a scrub day, so we were really just allowed to wear whatever we wanted to wear. And yes, I know my shirt is creased. I eventually ironed it after I took this video. So today was a lecture day, so I was allowed to have like my piercings and my hair down. So here I am packing my bag. There's my iPad, my MacBook, my book that I read in case I get bored, a little notepad if I want to jot little things down, obviously my water bottle, what is that, oh, my hand lotion, and a charger because our lectures are long, stethoscope, but I didn't actually need it that day, my ID badges, my AirPods and chapstick, and of course my keys, and then I was ready to go. So I actually don't live on campus, so I do drive, but it's not a long drive. But because I live in Houston, if you're from Houston, you know like 3 miles can equate to like 20 minutes. So yeah, it was a 15-minute drive, even though it's just 3.8 miles away. So yeah, my school is in Med Center, which is, I believe, one of the, I think it is the biggest like medical complex in the world. So all these buildings you see, they are like medical schools or nursing schools, osteopathic schools, or just hospitals in general. So yeah, so I finally found my building, and of course there was a long line. So lectures were kind of brief, just intros, so nothing really to snap. This was during the break they gave us, and yeah, that's it.
And then came February 2025, when Chester moved in. He was a 40-plus-year-old man with a criminal history of violence toward women, relocating from Washington to Houston like a bad storm drifting south. If there had been any real screening process from the rental company or the so-called safety check service, his past would have lit up like a Christmas tree. But apparently, in the world of lazy background checks, all you need to qualify as a good fit is also owning a cat. The setup looked harmless on paper: 2 adults, 2 cats. In reality, Tammy got stuck living with an aggressive, moody, walking red flag who gave her bad vibes every time he was in the same room. She did what so many women do when cornered by discomfort. She kept her head down, focused on her goals, and counted the days until graduation and moving out.
Literally graduate in 3 weeks, and now is the time that I decided that I'm going to start studying outside of my room. So come with me to this new library that I found through TikTok. I actually usually do study outside of my room, but I just always go to the same places, so I thought I'd try something new. It actually took me quite a minute to find the entrance because since it's on the 2nd floor, you kind of have to find these side stairs and the elevator. I also brought my food because I knew this library had a balcony. The inside's really cute, colorful and vibrant, which is my kind of vibe. Since the last couple of weeks of school, I have a lot of exit exams I had to study for, so that's really what I did at the library. And to be so honest, I got so much work done, and it's because like when you're in a library, you just have to do work because everyone around you is doing work, so you're just forced to do it too. One thing I always preach about is taking a break, which is exactly what I did in this moment. I went outside to the balcony, which was so cute, and the sun was setting. I've also been having these weird back pains. I think it's because I always sit at a desk and I'm always doing work, so that's why I was stretching. And the area where the library is kind of busy, so I'll just be nosy. But anyways, I went back in to do some more work. Usually when I study, I set Pomodoros, but this time I didn't because I knew I was just gonna do work. Anytime I leave my house, I have to do work because why would I waste my gas just to not do any work, you know? I kind of got bored though after like 2.5 hours, so I just went outside. And they even have sockets outside, which is so useful. I'm such a nature person, so I got so much work done outside. Ugh, bless me. If you got allergies, just beware of that. And of course, I had to show you guys my favorite nursing study guide right now. The link is in my bio. While I was outside, I got about 3 hours straight of work done, which is so crazy because I usually never do that, but I just lost track of time because of how amazing the weather was outside. But once I realized the sun was setting, I realized it was time for me to go. But anyways, I rate this experience a 9 out of 10, minus 1 point because of my allergies. But I definitely recommend studying outside of your room.
By April 2025, she was just weeks from being done. Cap and gown ready, last clinicals in progress, and her family making travel plans to watch her walk that stage. But tensions with Chester had reached boiling point. Their cats didn't get along, and instead of trying to work it out, Chester chose hostility. Early in April, things turned physical. He poured an unknown liquid on her face, slapped her phone from her hand, and left her shaken enough to call Houston police. The officers showed up and left without arresting him, because apparently in Houston, a man with a violent past assaulting a woman in her own home just isn't arrest worthy unless there's a chalk outline. Realizing she couldn't count on the police, Tammy did what responsible tenants are supposed to do. She contacted the property manager at For a Place to Live and requested a meeting to discuss her safety concerns. It was scheduled for April 26th at 3 p.m. And then, because the universe apparently enjoys irony, the company canceled the meeting 2 hours before it was supposed to happen. No reschedule, no emergency follow-up, just canceled. That same day, Tammy completed her last clinical session before graduation. She was on the phone with her parents on her way home, likely seeking comfort before walking into the tension she knew was waiting. She entered the apartment, and Chester was ready. Her parents heard her scream. They heard her cry for help. And then, silence. The call went dead. Panic set in thousands of miles away in the UK. Her parents called a family friend in Houston to check on her and contact the police. Officers entered the apartment and found Tammy lying on the kitchen floor, covered in blood. She had been stabbed more than 24 times. Chester had stabbed himself in the neck in what was either a coward's attempt to escape justice or a performative gesture for the police. He lived. Of course he lived. He was arrested and taken to the Harris County Jail. For the Odunsi family, the timing was almost unbearably cruel. They were supposed to be boarding flights for her graduation, not planning her funeral. Now they had to navigate the logistics of sending her body home to the United Kingdom, while also preparing to accept her nursing pin and degree in her honor. Her sister, Georgina, received the pin on her behalf.
6 weeks until I graduate nursing school. 5 weeks till I graduate. 4 weeks till I graduate, and I just got my nursing school. We have 2 more weeks.
On June 4th, her family finally laid her to rest in the UK. They celebrated her life, but it was a chapter they weren't ready to close. Her mother and sister Georgina quickly pivoted from mourning to fighting, filing lawsuits against both For a Place to Live LLC and Safe Rent, the company responsible for the so-called safety check. They argued, rightfully, that these companies failed to protect Tammy from a man whose violent history should have disqualified him from being her roommate.
Safe Rent Solutions LLC. So essentially that's a company that runs a background check for a place to live. So they'll perform background checks for the tenants moving in, to the address, just normal vetting naturally as someone moves into a new property. As a background check company, Safe Rent owed my sister a duty of care. They owed her a duty of care to conduct a thorough background check of Grant as he moved into her apartment. For context, my sister moved into the apartment first, and then Grant joined her a couple of months after. She should have been informed of any risks as he was moving in with her, but she wasn't. Safe Rent Solutions breached this duty by approving Grant's application to move in with my sister, considering he has a history of domestic violence and a criminal background. Essentially, Safe Rent's lack of security measures amounted to gross negligence. As a property management company, For a Place to Live owed my sister a duty to manage the property and maintain safety for all the tenants at the apartment. For a Place to Live breached this duty by failing to warn Tammy that Grant had a history of domestic violence and the fact that he had an extensive criminal history. Essentially, they shouldn't have let him move in with a young woman knowing that he's got a history of domestic violence. On top of that, during his application process, Grant should have been questioned of his criminal convictions in his application form. For a Place to Live failed to take my sister's complaints about Grant seriously and essentially cancelled a meeting that could have saved her life. Grant had multiple convictions in Washington of domestic violence. His most recent conviction before my sister's was in September of 2023. All in all, our family is seeking survival damages, including Tammy's pain and mental anguish as she experienced the attack. Our parents are seeking survival damages. They sat on the phone and they heard their daughter being murdered. They heard her dying breath and they heard her final words being help. No one should ever have to experience that kind of pain. My parents heard our beautiful Tammy being brutally murdered. No amount of money will ever bring our beautiful Tammy back. But this pain we have to live with forever. What we want as a family is change. We don't want this to ever happen again. We love you, Tammy.
Tammy had documented her life so thoroughly online that her murder rippled far beyond her family. Followers who had watched her study late into the night, share exam tips, and post cheerful updates about her nursing journey were devastated. She wasn't just a face in a headline. She was someone they'd come to root for. Someone who was supposed to walk the stage in a few weeks, not be lowered into the ground because she made the mistake of sharing an apartment with the wrong man. And here's where the anger sharpens. Tammy deserved better. She deserved to be safe in her own home. She deserved to live among people who shared her values, not predators who slipped through cracks in a broken system. She deserved a justice system that didn't wait until a woman was dead to take her fear seriously. Her parents lost their daughter. Her siblings lost their sister. The nursing field lost a future cardiovascular nurse who might have saved countless lives. And all because the people and systems in place to protect her decided her safety was optional. Elizabeth Tammy Odunsi's life was not a cautionary tale about living with strangers. It's a condemnation of a culture where women are forced to carry the full weight of their own protection, even when they've done everything right. May she rest in peace, but may her story haunt the people who failed her, because the rest of us are done pretending these murders come out of nowhere.